Well, welcome everybody for another Sunday session with Courtenay Pollock. Hey, Courtney.
Hi, Heidi.
Hope everyone's doing good out there today, and we're taking it outside today. So, pardon all the
Airplanes and helicopters and leaf blowers.
the nature, the nature of Pell River. I'll let Courtney take it away. Enjoy, guys.
Thank you. Okay, these early years, when I was on the scene in 70 onwards, it was late 70s, so 71, 72, and I mentioned that I'd done speaker fronts for New Riders and the Sons of Champlain, who would open for the Grateful Dead locally. And one of the things that Sons I got introduced to through, I guess it was Haggerty and some of the equipment guys working for the Sons, was Clunker Bikes. Clunker Bikes. Now I was interested because I built my own bicycles from the rubbish heap in England, as a boy, and they were cobbling together these heavy frame with big like wider wheels and fat tires, and they would drive these bikes up to the top of Mount Tamalpais and kamikaze down the other side on the trails. And I got to go along on some of these hell rides down the mountain on these clunker bikes. It was so much fun. Well, they were the precursor for the mountain bikes, believe it or not. A couple of the equipment fellas from Sons of Champlain started building them more professionally in San Anselmo. They had a little garage or something that in a commercial area. They actually asked me if I wanted to get on board with it, since I had an interest in the bicycles from an early age. But I had too much, going on with my tie-dye work. But I did follow their progress, and out of that, the Marin bike was developed, and the Potter. They were all legendary early mountain bikes, and they're still, in good condition. They're probably worth a fortune now. They were really good bikes. Of course, the industry has really advanced quite a lot, in those 50 years more. Anyway, that was just an interesting little aside. And right along with that, when I was a kid, I used to roller skate a bit. We didn't have ice, so we didn't do ice skating. But I carved a board, and I fixed it on top of one of my roller skates, and I would sit on it, and I'd go down this alley and around this long sweeping curve, and I put studs in the board, and I would touch the board down, and it would throw sparks up behind me. I had boards on both sides so I could go right and left, but it was too unstable to stand on because you're on a little roller skate, right? I didn't really make the advancement to spread the wheels. If I had, I would have been the first person to have skateboards. But anyway, that came along about the same time as the mountain bikes. And it's a whole revolution or evolution in sports that, the young people were jumping on board with. One of the things that, adventures that happened, we came along and said, I want to go up to Oregon. Our best equipment guys seemed to be from Oregon. They had several of them from Oregon. And, there was Jackson and Sonny Hurd and, gosh, my mind just went empty. Johnny Hagan, and of course Johnny Hagan's older brother was part of the Merry Pranksters with Ken Kesey, and so it was associated with that whole group. Anyway, we went looking for, and there's Joe Winslow, there's other ones, but anyway, he said, let's go up to Oregon and, corral a few more Oregon boys for our equipment guys, for New Riders and for the Grateful Dead. And I said, well, great adventure, let's just go. So we jump in his little orange 2002 BMW, take off, and on a road trip. Well, we're going to Eastern Oregon from the San Francisco Bay Area. It's quite a long time, a long way. And it was a really fun trip. Of course, we we're having fun and chatting and speculating and all this stuff, and then get deeper and deeper into Nowheresville, Eastern Oregon. We're going to meet at Joe Winslow's parents had this spread out in Eastern Oregon, right by the mountains, close in the mountains, and it was really it was a summer camp cottage shack. So we get there and we meet up with this Jackson, Hurd, Frankie's already up there, and Winslow, of course. There's kind of drop-ins. So we show up. It's filthy hot. Eastern Oregon. It's dry summer. It was really hot, and we're in this shack, and flies everywhere. So there's Jackson, Hurd, a few others. They're just like they're shooting the flies in the walls. There's holes all through.
With actual guns?
Yeah, actual guns.
No
Yeah, actual guns, sitting around shooting flies. And I kind of developed this technique where I knew that the power of mind, and it's not really, it could be like a yogic thing or something, but to develop a force field that would keep them off me. And I succeeded. I tried to do a repellent force field. Well, that didn't work. But when I did an induction force field, like I collapsed the energy around me, they completely left me alone. And I'm sitting there and everybody's pestered, and I'm sitting there cool as a cucumber, keeping my focus. They said, "How come you don't have any flies on you?" I said, "Probably because I showered this morning." I don't know. That was a little funny thing. And so that, and sure enough, we did. We scored big Gary Harrover and Robbie Cook. Robbie Cook's, a smallish guy, and Gary Harrover was like 6'4", 6'5", big, strong buck, really good baseball player. And I thought, well, he'll be good for our all-star team, down in Nicasia when we play the Jefferson Airplane next. He could just knock anything just out of the park. So anyway, those two guys joined the team. I think they actually, Robbie Cook actually went and worked with New Riders of the Purple Sage. I think Gary started with the Grateful Dead and then moved to the New Riders also. So that was so anyway, he had something else he wanted to do, and I went back to Marin with Frankie. Well, Geraldine's brother Forbes, that wasn't his real name, but he went by Forbes. A little younger than Geraldine, and he had this classic, beautiful 55 Chevy. It was the old body style, in great condition. In that condition now, that car would be valuable. And so anyway, but Forbes was, he'd been up for days, doing Black Beauty, some kind of speed, which back then a lot of, the bikers did, they were producing that stuff. There were a lot of stimulants on the market for long haul truckers, and so he was up on this stuff, and we're going to drive all the way back to Marin. And I said, well, he would not relinquish the driving. So Frankie and I took turns keeping him awake, and so I spelled the first, and Frankie napped, and then a hot day, it's like, he's just driving. It's like any minute now his eyes are going to close, or he's just going to phase out. And anyway, it was my turn to take a nap, but I'm really like on edge. I can feel this is a disaster waiting to happen. And so Frankie's on duty, and I'm kind of resting, but I wake up. I feel something's wrong. I wake up, and we're within inches of, we'd crossed the entire freeway to the opposing traffic, and we're about to hit the guardrail on the other side of the freeway.
Oh, man.
And I, I shouted him, Forbes, Forbes. Well, he doesn't hear me. He's completely gone. Completely gone. And I grabbed the steering wheel and save it from going into the guardrail and, and wake up. And he, stops the car. And at that point, I took over the driving. I was like, no. I crossed, there wasn't much traffic, fortunately. So, we didn't encounter any oncoming traffic, but it could have been terrible. And Frankie, she just dozed off, it's understandable, but so anyway, that was another adventure going back, not quite the adventure I was hoping for, but so anyway, we get back to Marin, and the scene is, the band is home for a while, and then they're on the road a lot, especially they always were on the road a lot. But during those periods of time, Frankie and I go horse riding or something, and one of the characters that she'd introduced me to that lived locally was David Freiberg, who played for the Jefferson Starship, or the Jefferson Airplane back then, and his partner, Girl Freiberg. Her name was Girl. She just went by Girl, and she was a great gal. She was really fun, and so we were kind of going out, I said to David, are you okay with me kind of going out with Girl? And he said, if it's not you, it's going to be somebody else, and honestly, you're the better choice. So just so I give you my blessing. And I was like, alrighty then. So anyway, so we had some interesting times, and one of the times, about once a month, I'd take a bunch of Clearlight, LSD, and go up into the hills. On this one occasion, I went up into a different area in the hills that I'd been before, and I settled on a spot that was kind of open, and I went off into my, dream space and merged with the universe, and then there's something I'm just moving through the heavens, and something's starting to nag at me and irritate me, and I kind of snap back into my body, and I'm feeling this really nasty jittery energy in me, which I'd never experienced before. Right above my head are 6 vultures circling over my vacated body, and and then I can feel this energy is in me, and it's like, and my instinct was, to find running water, and I go down. There is a ravine and a creek in the bottom, and I lay down in the creek, and I kind of washed this energy out of me, and but I'm freaked. I've never had an uncomfortable experience on LSD before, and I get back down to my house, and Girl Freiberg's waiting for me to go out to San Francisco for the evening, and she's all dressed up with a fur coat and perfume and looking, totally glamorous, and I'm just like this rag just came off the hills, like I need a shower. And so that was like going from that experience to the elegance and sophistication of an evening in San Francisco with a glamorous girl. Well, I never really recovered from any of that. But anyway, so I'm at home at Rucka Rucka one evening. Frankie comes by with Kitty Kennedy. Kitty Kennedy was the girlfriend of John Dawson, who was the leader of the New Riders of the Purple Sage. And these girls come by, and they say, "Come on, we're going out, hit the town." And I'm like, "Well, okay, and you're driving, so I'm driving, and we go all the way through Marin, and we stop at every bar along the way, and have a shot of tequila. I'd never had tequila before. It's my first experience with tequila ever. And then we do all the bars all the way through, you know, the little towns, Fairfax, San Anselmo, San Rafael, out through Larkspur, out to Mill Valley, on through Sausalito to the Golden Gate Bridge, and then into San Francisco, which of course is loaded with bars. By the time we were, you know, due to come back, I think we'd had 22 shots each. Fortunately, there was no drinking driving laws back then, but being, you know, having been brought up the way I had been, you know, I was staying just sober as a judge, which of course is a misnomer nowadays. But so anyway, and the girls are just, you know, and I said, so what was the point of this exercise? You know, they said, well, you know, we just wanted, you know, never seen you get loose, so we wanted to kind of, you know, get you really, you know, check you out. And I'm like, so I dropped them off at their appropriate stations and get back to Raka Raka and walk in, and I'm, you know, house is empty at that time, and I walk in, I'm going, well, the party's over, I can relax. Well, the moment I decided to relax, I suddenly was like, it hit me. This, you know, 24 shots of tequila, just bam, I walked 2 steps forward and literally staggered 1 or 2 steps back, and then pretty soon I'm like, and then I'm down on my hands and knees and everything's whirling, and I've never experienced this before. Horrible. That first and last time. They say never again. Well, we absolutely never again. I didn't touch tequila for 20 years. Now it's my drink of choice, but in moderation, of course. So anyway, I talked about Jerry I'm sharing the house with, and Rick, the bulldogger, across the street. We were off to the movies one night and came back, and we come up into Nicasio Valley and comes over the top of the hill, and right at the top of the hill there's an overlook. You can just park the car and walk up to this overlook, and it overlooks the golf course and the whole valley of San Geronimo and across towards the Pacific Ridge and the ocean beyond. And I'm driving and I go, you know, let's go up to the top ridge. I have a feeling about something. We pull over and we climb up this pretty steep hill to the overlook, and we're all looking, and there's this beautiful full moon. You know, we're all gazing at the full moon, and I was like, I didn't think it was a full moon tonight. And I was like, it's not a full moon. What is this? And it's just this yellow-white orb just there. And then I'm like, wait, I can see the silhouette of the far ridge behind this. This is right here over the golf course. What the hell is this? It was like one of these spheres of light phenomena thing. And I asked Jerry, I said, well, I want you to tell me what you're seeing, and then have Rick tell me what you're seeing, because I want to confirm this between us. You know, and they both said what we were all seeing, like a full moon, but right there. And and then it took off. It took off so fast. I mean, it just went from here and it went straight away from us, and it went down to a pinpoint of light as it went over the far ridge in a flash. It was like, what? You know, it didn't feel threatening or anything like that. It was just this incredible phenomenon. Next morning, I said to Jerry, I said, I want you to tell me about what, you know, you experienced last night. He said, I don't really remember it. I said, well, wait a minute. We weren't intoxicated. I asked you to as witness to say what you were experiencing. And he said, oh yeah, well, it would look like kind of like an orb of light, but it wasn't the moon, and then it disappeared. Then I asked Rick, and he just said, no, I don't remember that at all. I said, it just happened 12 hours ago. When I had you talk about it. No, I don't remember. Complete denial. You that was the first of a number of spheres of light experience that I've had. But you know, in those early days in Marin, Nicasio Valley didn't have any outside lamps or anything. It's a country road, and people didn't stay up late. There weren't a lot of outside lights. It was the sky was absolutely brilliant. The whole Milky Way, it was clear as a bell. And I used to just lie out and watch the sky. And the number of times I've seen formations of light moving around, and blinking on and off, and moving in formations, and all this stuff. So I've had no doubt that we were not alone, and which was exciting to me. Of course, in an infinite universe, there's infinite possibilities, and there's probably countless races of evolved people millions of years ahead of us. I mean, you'd have to be pretty ignorant to just not accept that in this infinite universe. I mean, people are in denial because they're scared, and they're scared because they're indoctrinated by their own governments. Anyway, enough of that. And so anyway, how are we doing? What's our time? Oh, 20 minutes. Pretty good. One of the things that Rick and I did, he wanted to go on this horse trip he did every year out to Kennedy Meadows, which is, can't really remember where Kennedy Meadows is, but it's beautiful. But I said, well, I'll go on foot. And about the time I'm getting ready to leave, this friend of mine, Molly Moser, beautiful natural blonde, drives up in her new Volvo, and I don't know why she was come and hang with the other side, but she just decided she wanted to come on this trip with us. So we went on foot, and Rick went on the horse, and get to Kennedy Meadows. We camp, and we go to this destination, and from that destination he backtracks on the horse, and I decided to make a straight line across A to B. I had a good sense of direction, and even though I didn't know the area, I said, well, if I go dead straight that way and just climb over cliffs or whatever is in the way, I'll get there before him. And sure enough, that's what I did, along with Molly Moser. She climbed right along with me, and sure enough, we got back to the camp about an hour and a half or two ahead of Rick on his horse. And he couldn't believe it. He said, he was flipped out. How did that happen? How did I transport myself from there to there? He was on the horse and we were on foot, and we didn't pass him. I said, I just cut across the mountains. No, you couldn't do that. No, there's no route. So, well, we did. That was when that was the outing where Rick took his first LSD. It was he had a good time, and he had a good positive trip, but it definitely changed him for a lifetime probably. So the band's on and off the road, and when they were back around, of course, I'd go visit Frankie and Weir in Forest Knolls, and Kreutzmann had a little house on the main road, but it had some acreage and it backed onto a creek, and so I'd go visit him and Susler at the time, and they were all out there shooting stuff, a bunch with a bunch of the roadies. So shooting the shit, shooting the guns, and they were wonderful free times, and we were all kind of young and happy together, and Kreutzmann's a really good-hearted man, and tough. They're all a bit of a cowboy, but anyway, so, and then I used to I'd go and visit Mountain Girl and Garcia. They had a place in Stinson Beach. Stinson Beach is a lovely little hamlet on the ocean, right on the west side of Marin County. If you go from Mill Valley over the mountain, there's two little ridges until the Pacific Ridge, and then you go all the way down, and it pretty much terminates in Stinson Beach. There is a coast road that goes up and past the hamlet of Bolinas, and then it goes all the way out to Alima in West Marin, where actually I used to live for a while later on. And I remember the first time I went in their house. Of course, they got the kids, They got a raccoon that's living with them.
They have a raccoon?
A raccoon,
Oh my
a
goodness.
pet raccoon.
That's
I said, was it house trained? He said, can't house train a raccoon. It was living in the drawers. It had this chest of drawers with all the clothing and stuff like that. The drawers were, open a little bit, and he'd just pop up from one drawer to another. And it was like the cutest thing ever, little bandit. And but on one occasion I went out there and I had this. I decided I'm going to go up in the hills of Stinson Beach, because Stinson Beach has a wonderful special energy about it. And I go up in the hills and take a bunch of LSD and walk up into the hills, and I'm having this lovely communing with nature and feeling and then I'm under the trees, and there are these beautiful feathered bird-like people that I'm in the midst of, and they are communicating telepathically, and I'm right in there with them, and they're so beautiful, all very different and individual, very evolved beings. They're on another plane, I guess, because it's not like I could bring one home with me. But they were lovely. So anyway, and then I ended up down at Mountain Girl and Garcia's place, like oh, I think we'll get some food in you and bring you down to earth a little bit. Wonderful, free, beautiful days in those early years of the 1970s, 71, 72. And then we're kind of moving towards, well, one of the, I should actually go to another episode because we're at around 25, 26 minutes.
All right.
So,
I'll close back on.
oh, you have to put your clothes back on.
Well, thanks for joining us, and those were great, Courtney. It was so wonderful to hear like those little bits that you don't get to know about
Right.
in front of the scene,
Yeah,
right?
I've got a few more.
All right. Well, stay tuned. We'll be back with some more. And remember, like and subscribe.
Thank you.